British troops are now heavily engaged in two wars, the one in Afghanistan and the one in Iraq. And we're told every day that these wars are in pursuit of our values and democracy against Islamic terrorism. And this is the basis on which some sort of support in Parliament and elsewhere has been won for government policy. But if you don't understand the history of it, you can't make sense of what's happening. If you don't know where we came from, you don't know where you are, and you don't know where you're going. That is what is so important about this film. It gives you factually an understanding of what's gone before, so that you have the capacity, we all have the capacity, I feel I have now the capacity to judge what we're told about the present invasion of Afghanistan, which is not only, in my opinion, illegal, it's immoral because of the casualties imposed, and it's unwinnable. I went in 1978 on a delegation, I led a delegation to see the then Soviet ambassador in London to complain about the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. And the ambassador said, but you must understand, there are terrorists there. And who was he referring to? He was referring to Osama bin Laden. And who was funding Osama bin Laden? The United States. And so most of what we're told is completely false. It isn't true, it doesn't relate to what policy has been in the past, doesn't help our way forward, and maybe, most importantly, and this film shows it, it's doomed to failure. And indeed, history shows that the people who in the end win are not necessarily the people with the most advanced weapons, but those within a country who are absolutely determined that they will not give up until their country is free. But there's another way of looking at what is happening, and that is very simple. It is that whereas after the First World War, and indeed before it, Britain dominated the politics of the Middle East, now with the decline of the British Empire, the United States have decided to take our place because they need the oil, they need the power, they need the bases. President Bush said to Congress, the United States is addicted to oil, and addicts are very often prepared to kill to get their drug. And that certainly has been the view that the Americans have taken about the Middle East. So maybe the best way of understanding it is to see it in terms of one empire, the American empire, replacing another empire. And if you see it like that, so much becomes clear. And if we realize that that is what's happening, it helps us to decide what we must do about it, which is to stop the war, prevent the extension of the war, and make it possible for the people of the Middle East to build their own future in the light of their own history, their own aspirations, their own desires, and not imagine that we can impose our way of life on them which is really just an excuse for getting hold of their resources.